Welcome to Go For Side Effects. I'm your host, Kevin Simon. You all know my co-host, John. John, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, brother. Doing good. How you doing?
Lovely. Lovely as ever.
Lovely.
You been doing all right, man?
Yeah, upright breathing. Every day's an adventure.
Uh, that,
So we're doing all right.
that's good, man. That's really
Yeah.
good. Well, you know what? Now that most of the disaster stuff is over with, it's kind of been settled down and everything. And so I thought this week, hey, you know what? Before next week's very controversial podcast we got coming up, and which is going to be really a big deal, everybody. And I hope each and every one of y'all will tune in next week, because me and John, Wade, Tina, Linda, we are all going to be live next week with unbelievable information that we didn't even know was out there and that was told. And so a lot of things that we were told isn't exactly true. It's kind of hard to explain. We got to get everything together. I want to make sure everything's factual. But me and John last night, we were really pumped up. I wanted to do it tonight. John was telling me, what would you tell me, John?
I said just pump the brakes a little bit until we have everything lined up. We want to have our other folks on so they can, share with us their feelings about it. This is information that we're aware of, but the way it's disseminated is different. Is something that we're not aware of. Let's put it that way.
And you're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And that's one thing that I was kind of telling John, that, the information we got is just unbelievable. And so, before we, say any more, I'll talk a little bit more at the end about it to remind everybody. But John, go ahead and give us some stats for 2025 for the VA.
So Kevin and I are just digging into it a little bit about what our VA, the money that's being requested, which is pretty astonishing. They're going to be requested for the budget year 2025 is going to be $369.3 billion, which is a 9.8% increase over this year's budget. So if you can wrap your head around that number by itself, call it $370 billion going into our VA healthcare is what's going to be requested. Again, that's a 9.8% increase over fiscal year 2024. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about that budget. Just, we're going to ponder this a little bit, because what was the stats on it? That 17.2 for mental health billion, and which it needs to be done. 17.2 billion needs to be done, but they also need to go ahead and take that 17.2 and also put it down to the home health care. 2.9 billion for caregiver. Bullcrap. I'm sorry. I'll call it out. I'll be the first one to tell y'all. I will call this out, because I think it's total BS that they're only going to get 2.9 for that. How many people out there that you know of? I mean, John, off the top of your head, how many people have we talked to and we helped that need a home carer? I mean,
dozens and dozens. I mean, the bottom line with anybody that has tried to get monies to help their spouse, male or female, to try and help them to get monies, to get compensated, because that's a full-time job. Because what we have is very diverse. It's very, it takes a lot of time and energy on wear and tear on the caregiver's side, and it's mind-boggling what they go. I'm the veteran. You're the veteran. What our spouses have to deal with on some days is just, It's a lot. It is a lot.
I agree
And
with
and
you.
then the children, our children, regardless of what their age, especially if they happen to be, if you happen to be a little older, and let's say you waited later in life to have children, your children are affected. Hell, they could be dealing with problems that Uncle Sam doesn't want to acknowledge, because it all comes down to what's that big thing? Money.
But okay, but here's one, and I think it's total bullshit. $1.1 billion for women's health.
Oh yeah,
BS.
that was I didn't like that.
I did
was like,
not
what?
agree with that whatsoever, because I mean, there's so much military women out there that need just as much help as we do, and that's all they get for women's health. New construction, I agree with. 15.9 billion. That's build new hospitals, clinics, reconstruction, adding on, and I mean all kinds of things. And
what did we learn, Kevin? There's currently, as we speak, as we're on the air tonight, there's 1,700 hospitals and clinics that the VA operates across the country. And now you said that doesn't sound like a lot.
It's not.
And I haven't done the math on whether I agree or disagree with that. All I know is that the amount, we always tell our viewers, you have to advocate for yourself. Don't expect somebody to come knocking on your door. Hey, you're a veteran. Do you need any help? It don't work like that. It just don't. You have to advocate for yourself. We say it all the time. But the care in the community, that was a number. Didn't you have that number? I don't know if you got that number, what they're going to spend. Or the VA wants to start leaning more.
I think that was like 9 billion. They're going to start leaning, which great. I understand that, but people from Lake Charles have to drive to Houston. That's a 2.5-hour damn drive to go to an appointment. They should be able to do it there.
They're required to do that?
Yes.
They're required.
Yes.
They can't ask.
No.
And I don't.
Nope. When they go see a specialist, they have to go downtown Houston, 2.5-hour drive. It's total bullshit. BS all the way.
Here's one. Kevin and I were talking a little bit. Think about this, people. Okay, now the VA, the money for the VA, the money for us veterans that need help, some of us that don't even know we need help yet, that haven't put the two and two together. Think about this for a second. And one of the things that really irritates me about the United States is when you go to the hospital, hell, when you go to the clinic, when you go to see anybody for any kind of medical issue, how many times are you handed a sheet that says how much anything costs? Anything.
Yeah, nothing.
You might find out what it costs to go for a doctor's visit.
I mean, you do get it afterwards. You can go in and request afterwards. Right.
Yeah, but how many times do you go to any place and whatever you're buying, I don't care if it's to a car or to a bag of potato chips, are you going to buy that without knowing what the price is first? No.
With outpatient care, community care, why don't they put community like pharmacies in there where you can get your stuff from Walgreens?
Yeah.
And
that's challenging, because you and I have both used that, and I've ran into problems with that. Because meaning the VA has to have a contract with said pharmacy, and you have to go in with a hard piece of paper, a physical piece of paper, because the systems aren't interlinked.
Right.
I'm like, okay.
But here's the other thing is the time they screwed up my medicine and almost committed suicide on, you have to get a police report. Okay. Because, pregabalin and gabapentin is now considered, opioid. I don't understand that shit. Don't get your eye. Supposed to knock the nerves, out of your feet, and nerve pain, fibromyalgia. Don't work great. But so why don't they, instead of mailing it to you where somebody can steal it, that one you have to go pick up at a Walgreens or the nearest pharmacy where they contract it out. then that way you don't have to worry about getting a police report. I mean, that would solve that damn problem, VA. I got you right there.
Well, I know
mean,
for me,
common sense.
when I get my pain medication, I have to sign for it. And I get that. I mean, yes, I could drive an hour and a half down to Des Moines.
Wait.
Pick it up.
You got to sign for it?
Yes, because it's a narcotic.
So they consider mine. I don't have to sign for it. Why? I don't have to sign for it.
You don't have to sign for it. Where? At your house?
Yeah.
Or you
Anywhere.
don't have to sign for it. What?
Yeah.
I got to sign for my shit.
See,
That's
understand
a post office thing. That's a postal thing, and I don't know if that's a postal regular thing or that's a VA regular thing. I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know. I know I don't have to sign for it. But let's shift track a little bit, because VA is also going to expand the holistic side. Fantastic. I agree with that. Let's get these guys off of, these hard drugs. Let's get them off of stuff that they don't need to be on, because if I had a big-ass Band-Aid on me, I'd slap it on my head and say, hey, because that's all they do. Now they're going to go more towards the holistic side. We know they're working with mushrooms for people with, TBIs,
PTSD, I think.
PTSD.
I think so.
And they do acupuncture. Believe it or not, you can almost go through. And for y'all that are above 100%, I'm going to give y'all a little bit of a thing I just learned. So I have a customer that's 680% disabled.
No kidding?
No bullshit.
Okay.
And
I know
so,
the VA math too.
And so I assumed that people that get that high probably extra money. No. But he has a loss of a limb. Okay. So for his shirts he wears, the VA pays for all them. And for any bandages, for anything that he needs for that, they give him extra money. He has to apply for it every month. But they give him they give you a clothing allowance. But it all depends on what your disability is. And so it's almost like if you wear jeans all the time because your legs all scarred up from them screwing up a botched surgery or something like that. They'll pay for the pants for you to wear all the time. I mean, he was telling me all kinds of stuff I didn't even know today. I was like, what? And
well, it is really amazing. The things that even you and I think we learn every week something we didn't know. And that's the one thing that's frustrating for us, because we talk to other people and say, oh yeah, just you have to do this and this. As the saying goes, you don't know what you don't know. And it's like,
and that's right. I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things. Now, they'll also pay if to train a dog. And he has one. He brought it to the barbershop. And they'll pay for anything the dog needs. They pay for the dog's food. They pay for all the care for the dog. Hell, to go to a veterinarian.
Because of his rating.
Because of his rating and what happened to him. And I didn't ask about any stories. I was just so blown away of everything he was telling me. And I know his Humvee had an IED. His arm went out the window, and it went from that. That's what I do know. Okay. But he was telling me that I was like, okay, so I have a question for you. How is it? Because this guy was really knowledgeable about the VA. I said, so let me ask you in this frame. I know a lot of people who have claims out there that's had claims for 3 years. Haven't heard anything. And you know what he told me?
What's that?
He says it's because what the doctor puts down.
Oh. It's how the doctor wrote their notes.
It's how the doctor wrote it out. Because they send it here, then they send it to another place. They could send it all the way out to a whole different state to have them review it. And then other doctors. It's all about what that doctor puts in there.
And you got to follow up and ask questions.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
I would, it's because, I mean, here again, back to the thing, you know, it seems like you know, we tend to beat a little bit of a dead horse in the fact that you got to advocate. We don't know everything about the VA. I mean, we live it every day because of our disabilities,
But
but we learn something every day. I
right.
mean, the amount of information out there is astonishing. It's not, and I know there's people out there. We know people who, oh, you just go to this web page and type in this and this, go to paragraph the or chapter this, paragraph this, blah 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 blah. I'm like, holy shit, how far deep down you got to go? You know,
Well,
it ain't easy.
another guy I met, Fernando. I had him on the show when I first started this podcast, and he was the one that was talking about he had a letter, and I haven't seen him in like two years. He comes into the barbershop. I'm like, man, he's hugging me, asking me how everything's going. I said, what's going on with you? How's everything going? This guy's had cancer remission, cancer remission, cancer remission. He can't remember anything anymore. He has brain fog. He's got to move out of his house. He can't take care of it anymore. And, he's going to assisted living. This guy's 53 years old, and he was where Wade was. Chemisia?
Yeah, come and see it. Yeah.
He was over there. And he was there when the explosion went, and he was actually, I think, one of the ones who actually detonated.
Oh.
And was, on part of that team. And he was saying that he gets letters all the time from the VA. You need to be filing for this, you need to be filing for that. He's like, oh, he goes, but he's already had a heart attack. Now listen to this. Not only cancer, heart attack, brain fog, can't remember, nothing. Short-term memory, gone. Long-term memory, almost gone. He's almost at the point he's starting to think he's getting ALS.
Oh hell, I hope not.
And
I hope not.
That to me should be a shocker to each and every person out there, because this guy, when I talked to him, and this was just a few years ago, not even a few years ago, his whole brain, he says, is like mush now. And so if you really think about it, the people with ALS, what is it? Is it PLS or BLS? Multiple, like Jeremy, MS.
MS, yeah.
Everything that them guys were exposed to, probably more than what I was or you were, they're all exhibiting one thing. Their body is shutting down. Our bodies are shutting down. And that's why I think next week is very important. Is
because
this could have been taken care of a long time ago.
Yes, indeed. And you will have a visual. I mean, we're going to, gentlemen Kevin and I are going to work through these things, and we have visual and audio on this information. You'll hear from several Marines, several service member about their time there. And just very factual information. Here again, a lot of us already know what takes place and already suffering from it. But what it's going to do is it's going to provide affirmation. It's like, and
it's not just going to provide that. It's going to make people on the outside that weren't in the military, that don't understand it, how our government really works. That's the best way to say it, because that from the outside looking in, it's very hard to understand a military life.
Yes.
From the inside out, it's very hard that you don't understand what a military life is about. It really is. It's like, how do you forget I have neuropathy? I can't do this. How do you forget my short-term memory? How am I supposed to remember this? How is it that, people with MS can't get caretakers properly from the VA?
Well, it's on the medical side of things. And as we're saying this, when us, the veterans, go into our medical personnel, if they themselves if they aren't veterans or haven't, if they've dealt with a veteran directly, but it's very, very difficult for our providers, regardless of what their professional medical field is, it's very difficult for them dealing with us because they're dealing with something they have no idea. They don't have the training. They have a training. Okay, this veteran was in the Gulf War. This person was in Vietnam. This person was in Afghanistan for X amount. And this has happened or that's happened. But when you're talking chemical exposures, that's a whole different ballgame.
But then take part of that $300 billion and start training these doctors.
Yeah, and this isn't now. I know we've talked about.
Why can't they?
Yes.
Why can they not train them? I don't understand that. Why is it whenever my wife knows about Gulf War illness, they learn it in that Parkinson's and all this, but you go into the VA, they don't know anything about it. The administration part does, but the doctors don't know shit about it. So somebody out there in the real world that's looking from the outside looking in, explain to me how when you go to an outside doctor, they can give you every diagnosis in the world and tell you it's because of this, and this. But when we go to the VA, it's you have this, but we only treat the symptoms, not the cause.
Yes. They don't have an explanation as to why, but here's what we can do to treat your symptoms. We don't understand why this is happening to your body.
Right.
But here you go. We have this medication you should take. Now, that medication is going to have side effects. Somebody recently put on a Facebook, there's a posting, they made the comment about, take this medication and your side effects are going to create a lot of, you're shitting all over the place and stomach pain. And this was a civilian that said it. I think this person is dating the military personnel. But I said, talk to a veteran about side effects of medications and how it's affected them over their life.
Well,
talk to a veteran.
Here's the other thing. The other day, I looked in one of the sites. It was one of the veteran sites. And it's one of the ones that don't allow me to post on the podcast. But I was looking at their site, and somebody wanted information because they're having a really hard time struggling with what their husband's going through. And you know what the first thing that they told them to go do? What do you think the first thing they told them? Y'all need to seek professional outside counseling. No. What you need to do is learn what the hell your husband went through, or your wife went through, or your kid went through, and then make a plan. And that's one thing. We are going to bring somebody on for that eventually. I'm working on that to bring a guy on that talks about how you need to make a plan when a veteran comes back from war. That's a great.
Yeah, that's what perfect. Yeah.
That's each and every one of us needs to go through. I mean, because I got friends. They're like, man, my son's so screwed up. He messed his marriage up. He did. I'm like, dude, go back, understand what he went through. Y'all aren't looking. Y'all are looking from the outside in, not the inside out. Try to go in and stay in for a little while. And really sit down with them. Go to one of his counseling meetings. Stay with them. Understand. And let me tell you guys before all y'all jump on my ass, because I know it's coming. When you got a spouse and you got kids, you have to really put that in your brain, no matter what you're struggling with, and invite them in to understand somewhat of what they can't understand what you went through all the way, but they can somewhat understand it.
Hey, what was the name of the name of the movie? Now we watched this. It's been a while back, a few months now back.
The Gulf War. The Gulf War.
The Gulf War. That's the name of the movie. The Gulf War with Ted Danson.
Back in 1997 or 98. Yeah, go back and watch it.
Phenomenal movie to get some concept of what we're going through. and even what the spouses are going through a little bit. They touch base on it.
And there are,
Yeah.
and for all you spouses out there, from bottom of my heart, thank you. I want to thank each and every one of y'all, because y'all put up with a lot of crap that a lot of us come home with, and we dump it on y'all as far as emotional, not telling y'all what we're doing, and the exposures that we gave to all y'all. And for the children out there, look, we're in this to help y'all now. They're not going to help us. I can already tell you, in my own personal belief, this is my personal belief, they signed my death certificate early. I don't want my kids to go through that. I want my kids to be able to get help, get understanding. And by then, 20, 30 years down the road, they may actually have, hey, we got the cure for Gulf War illness. All of us dead, but
don't think it'll happen. My wife, I'm not sure what I think it was. We were talking about the podcast and so on and so forth, and my wife and I we were discussing, about each one of our kids, and when I got home, because I was deployed from Germany, came back to Germany. I mean, we had the red carpet. We come home, and I was lost. And my wife goes, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Because I just came from war." I said, your mind is going gazillion different ways.
Right.
Don't know what's coming. You come home to a civilian sector, and a light switch got turned off, and it's like you're just freaking lost. But you're like, your mind is just.
But it's not only that. It's also when you get out of the military. I mean, they build you up. They scrap you to nothing. Then they build you up, and they make you into something, and then you make yourself bigger, and then you do what. And then once you get out, you're nothing. You start all over. That transformation really will affect a vet.
Oh yeah.
And
why? Because they're going from a very how do you say it? Very constructed, very
constructive.
Everything there is a
I know there's a proper word for it, but it's very constructive. I mean, they got dinners planned. Everything is planned out. Your whole life is completely planned while you're in the military. But that's the problem too. Is some of these guys who don't go to war, who come home, but they made something really good out of themselves for 8 years. And their spouse says, hey, I really want you to get out for the kids, this and this. Structure. They had structure. When you get out in the real world these days, you got to build your own structure. I built my own. I have my routine. I do not like my routine to be messed up. I don't want to change it. Everybody says I need to. I ain't doing it. I like the structure I built for myself.
And the military, there's a command structure, an E1's an E1. You make it up to a non-commissioned officer and an officer. You have a very specific job. All of a sudden, then you're in charge of people. You learn how to do that, and then everybody has a responsibility. That thing on your collar, it means something. Once you get out of the military, that don't mean jack.
And for these young guys, these young guys and gals that are going into the military, I want each and every one of y'all to understand they're going into something that's a lot newer than what we went through.
Yeah, it's changed a lot.
It's a little bit kinder, nicer, gentler. Which I totally disagree. I think it should be
puppy dog love.
Yes, it should be hardcore. I think that the don't ask, don't tell should stay in place. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. I mean, if you don't like it, sorry, that's just me. But I believe the structure that we had in the military is the structure they need now.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to know. You need to answer for it as you do. There's a chain of command for a reason. You knew your job. I knew my job. You fuck up, you answer for it. And you do good. You get recognition. I don't need a pat on the back for everything I do, but it's nice to get a thank you.
I have to say this like this to everybody sitting out there. for the ones that don't like experimental drugs, I commend you for not taking it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There's a lot of people out there that I'll get some hate mail for that one. But I commend them guys because they're looking out. That's their health. You have to make choices for yourself. We didn't get that option. But now you need to make that option for yourself. Because that's why we're in the predicament we're in right now.
You go from being a civilian into the military, which is very well structured, very organized. All the jobs in the civilian world, basically, they have in the military, and everybody's helping one another. It's a team. You don't function if you're not working as a team. You ain't functioning. And guess what? That's kind of what you learn in basic training. You learn to work as a team, and you can't make it if you ain't working as a team. It ain't gonna work. How do you think it'd work on your ship if people weren't working together? What would fucking happen?
They throw you off. It won't function. You're right, but they throw you out, put somebody else in there. I mean that's just the way the real world needs to work. I mean, everybody.
We kind of went off in left field here.
A little bit. Well, I went on my tangent. I'm sorry, I did. I go on a tangent because, I mean, I'm very passionate about this because. Veterans are not sticking with veterans. Veterans are arguing with each other. Veterans want to be this. Veterans want to do this. We can't. In order for us to get the VA straightened up, all of us need to stick together. And if we don't, the VA is going to stay the exact same way.
Yes. Yeah.
Whoever is next president, I don't care who it is. I do, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I gotta say, we do.
We do, but I'm just saying. Please put me in charge of the VA healthcare. I will change the system so dramatically that it'd be mind blowing. There will be no more outside research. I will pull them in under the VA. That's exactly what I would do, and I would say this is the amount of time you got to find me progress. And for everybody who is still suffering that doesn't have help, I'm going on tangent, on home care, I would make sure y'all get your home care. So please put me in charge. I straighten this shit up in a heartbeat.
Well, I mean, so our government, I mean, we do have, the United States being arguably the most powerful country in the world. We just had, so in the last month or so, we've had the president from the Ukraine in speaking at the White House. Now we have president of Israel speaking at the White House today. They're important. The world, although those are, well, Ukraine's pretty good size, but Israel, the Gaza Strip, it's not that big, but it creates a lot of problems. And when our United States government, when us veterans are fighting to get basic needs met because of our time in service, in or about whether we're directly boots on the ground or not, if we're helping indirectly, all we're asking is, hey, don't just acknowledge us. Take help. I mean, we still want to do our own thing, but make sure that you're doing the right things for us. Not just saying you're actually doing
it.
The right things.
I agree.
Because that $370 billion that they're talking about for the next budget for the fiscal year 2025 for the United States Veterans Administration, $370 billion. That's a chunk of change, Chief. That's a lot of money.
And appropriate it. Put more in it for women's health. That's just put more in it for women's health instead of $1 billion. That's stupider than. I just don't get that.
No, that's true. That's a factual statement. Our women
take away the $15.9 billion on renovating it, and just allow these guys to go to outside doctors and hospitals. Then you can put more into women's health. You can put more into, make sure that people from Camp Lejeune, the Vietnam guys, everybody's taken care of. But I mean, we're gonna end it here. But before we go, I do want to say, thanks to John Wade. Thank you for last week for being on the show. For everybody who listens and tunes in to us, next week, I think everybody needs to be talking about this today for next week, because what's going to happen next week is just going to piss a lot of us. I'm more ecstatic because now I know the truth. But next week, y'all gonna find out something that we were told years ago did not happen.
Well, remember that.
Yeah, that's all I say, because I want to get together, and so everybody can sit there. So next week, y'all tell everybody you can, every vet, every non-vet, to be watching the program next week, because it's going to be big. And Linda, Wade, Tina, John, y'all better be ready for next week and everything. And if y'all have any questions, get a hold of me at kevinsimon@go4sideeffects.com. If you want to come on the show, email me. You can go on Facebook, go to YouTube. We're bringing the channel up. It's slowly climbing. I want to get it to 1,000. And everybody follow on TikTok. Thank you very much. And y'all have a great night. John, thank you very much, man. I really, really, really appreciate you.
Of course, likewise, brother.
And we're going to go into the after show now.